Hello, and welcome to Major Tissues of the Human Body. There's four major tissues of the human body. They are epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. The two examples that you see on the slide are simple squamous and simple cuboidal, which will represent epithelial tissue, just two of many examples of epithelial tissue. Simple means that there's only one layer of cells. Squamous means that the nuclei within the cells are flat or fried or have a fried egg-like appearance. Simple cuboidal, simple means that there's one layer of cuboidal cells. The cuboidal cells have a round nucleus. Simple squamous is typically found in locations within the body where we want diffusion or filtration to take place. Simple squamous is found in the air sacs of the lungs and the glands of the kidneys. Simple cuboidal is typically found in locations in the body where we want absorption and secretion to take place. Also found in the glands of the kidneys. Simple columnar and stratified squamous are also two examples of epithelial tissue. Again, simple columnar, simple meaning that it's one layer of columnar cells. Columnar, you can see here, are going to have tall cells. They're taller than they are wide, and they're going to have an oval or elongated shaped nucleus. The nucleus are the purple dots that you're seeing by the black pointer of the columnar cell. So that is simple columnar. Stratified means that there are multiple layers of cells stacked on top of one another. Squamous, again, will be a nucleus that has a flat appearance. Stratified squamous is usually found in areas of the body where we want protection to be the function. So stratified squamous epithelial tissue is going to be found in the skin. Transitional epithelium is another example of epithelial tissue, and transitional means that it can transition from the type of cell shape that it has. So transitional epithelial is found in our urinary system, in the organs of the bladder, in the structures of the ureters. This is where we're going to change the shape of the epithelial tissue based on the function of the bladder. So the bladder is going to distend or stretch as it fills with the urine that it's going to store. So it is made up of transitional epithelial tissue. And that's what you see here on our slide. Hyaline cartilage and elastic cartilage are going to be examples of our connective tissue. The hyaline cartilage that you see here are going to be found at the ends of our long bones. They're going to be found at the ends of our ribs. It's going to be found at the bridge or tip of our nose. It is also going to be found surrounding the trachea, also found in the larynx. These are many locations where hyaline cartilage is found. Hyaline cartilage is going to be made up of chondrocytes. Chondro means cartilage and cytes means cell. So hyaline cartilage has chondrocytes found in these little structures that you see, circular structures here that you see by the black tip of the pointer, called lacunae. Elastic cartilage is going to be found in two locations within the human body. They are going to be found in the pinna of the ear and also going to be found in the structure called the epiglottis. The epiglottis is going to be found in your respiratory tract. It is going to be the structure that is covering over your trachea and your esophagus. So depending on if we are swallowing food or inhaling air, the epiglottis is going to function for us, and it is made up of elastic cartilage. You can see that the elastic cartilage are going to have those dark stringy fibers that you see. Those are elastic fibers that is going to allow this structure elasticity and stretchability. So that's what you see there, the elastic cartilage found in two locations, the ear E, elastic ear, and the epiglottis, elastic epiglottis, E. Fibrocartilage is the third type of cartilage that's found within the human body. Our fibrocartilage is the most, is the strongest. It has the most tensile strength. It's going to allow us to absorb any compression that we place upon structures, such as all of the body weight that we have that is going to be exerted onto the lower part of the body. Fibrocartilage is going to be found in the pubic symphysis, connecting the two anterior structures of our hip bones together, and it is also going to be found between the vertebrae, allowing structure or cushioning and padding between the bones of the vertebrae, because they align on top of one another. So that padding made up of fibrocartilage is going to be the composition of that structure that separates the vertebrae within our vertebral column. Fibrocartilage, along with the elastic cartilage from the previous slide, are also going to have chondrocytes within those circular structures called lacunae. Blood is also going to be an example of connective tissue. Actually, it is the only example of connective tissue that is found in liquid form. The blood has two components. It is made up of formed elements and also a liquid component called plasma. What you're viewing here is a specimen of blood smeared onto a slide and viewed underneath the microscope, and you're seeing or viewing the formed elements. The pink structures that are the most abundant on the slide that you're viewing will be our red blood cells, also known as erythrocytes. Erythro for red, cytes for cell. The purple structures that you see are going to be our white blood cells. White blood cells are going to be also called leukocytes. Leuko for white, cytes for cell. And the third type of formed element that you cannot view on this particular slide will be our platelets. And our platelets are also known as thrombocytes. Thrombo for thrombosis because their function is clotting, and cytes for cell, thrombocytes. Our red blood cells, which are the pink structures, are the most abundant formed element in blood, and their function is to carry oxygen. The white blood cells that you see, the purple structures, are going to be used to fight off infection, and they are going to be a big component of our immune system. Adipose tissue and bone are also additional examples of connective tissue. Adipose, known as fat, would be our fat cells. This is where we're going to store energy. Adipose tissue. Bone is going to be another example of connective tissue, and this is hardened cartilage. So it's made up of osteocytes. Osteo for bone, cytes for cell. So it's going to have osteocytes, and we have several different types of bone cells that you'll talk about when we get to that part on our educational journey of anatomy and physiology. But what you're viewing on your bone slide are circular structures, and those are going to be our osteons that are found in compact bone tissue. Connective tissue is the most abundant of the four major tissue types of the human body. Our third type of tissue found in the human body will be our nervous tissue, and our nervous tissue will be made up of nerve cells and neuroglial cells. The nerve cells will be our neurons that are going to send and receive electrical impulses throughout the body. And our neuroglial cells, we're going to have several types of neuroglial cells or examples of neuroglial cells, and they are the supporting cells for our neurons. The blue structures that you see here in the slide, the view of the slide, are going to be our nerve cells. Those are our neurons, and you can see that they have this diamond-shaped structure, and there's three components that are going to make up the neuron. It is going to be these processes that are going to come off of the cell body. So the dark structure here is going to be the cell body of the neuron, the cell body, and the little spiky structures that are coming off of it will be our cell processes. And as we get get further down in our educational journey of Anatomy and Physiology 1, we'll talk about what these cell processes are and their functions. They are termed axons and dendrites. Our nervous tissue, found in the brain and the spinal cord. And our last major tissue type will be our muscle. We have 3 types of muscles found in the human body. We have our skeletal muscle, our cardiac muscle, and our smooth muscle. The skeletal muscle you can see here is striated. It is going to have alternating light and dark bands of striations. And as we get into our skeletal muscle tissue, or our skeletal system, you'll see just what the light and dark alternating bands that we call striations here are going to be. You can see that it has multinuclei, so the purple or the black, the dark structures that you see are going to be the nucleus of the cell. So it is a multinucleated tissue. And it is also voluntary. So our skeletal muscle is going to be the muscle that's attached to our bones, and therefore it is going to allow us to manipulate our environment. The cardiac muscle that you see here also has those striations, but it also has a unique feature, this structure here, which is the intercalated disc. And this intercalated disc is what's going to allow all the cardiac muscle cells to communicate on one accord. They're going to be synchronous in their contraction. So they're all going to communicate. You can see that there's very few and far between nuclei seen within our cardiac muscle. The difference between our skeletal muscle and our cardiac muscle, in addition to that unique feature of the intercalated disc, will be also that cardiac muscle is going to be involuntary. We cannot tell our heart when to contract and beat and pump our blood for us. So it is considered an involuntarily controlled muscle. And lastly, our third example of muscle tissue found in the human body will be the smooth muscle. It is so named because you can see that it is without striations, so therefore it's smooth. And this smooth muscle gives this wavy-like appearance that we see here. So this is smooth muscle, and it's going to be found in all the hollow organs of the body. That will include your liver, your lungs, your stomach, your intestines. It's also going to be found making up the walls of those blood vessels, those arteries and those veins that we talked about in the organ system of the cardiovascular system. So those are the many locations that smooth muscle can be found. Smooth muscle, just like your cardiac muscle, is also involuntarily controlled. And these are your examples of the 4 major tissue types of the human body. Thank you.